Then I'll have something to talk about now on the show. I got inspired by watching Linux OTC.
Hey, ooh, wow.
Ooh.
That could mean
that's a dangerous thing there. Yeah,
It's a very dangerous thing, yeah.
Who's the new guy?
Ben? I don't know.
Why,
You haven't said hi yet.
The new, not new guy. Been watching you all for a long time. We've actually talked a couple of times in text, Bill.
Ben,
you recommended the
yeah.
mic to me. Do you remember? You recommended my mic to me.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, good deal.
Is this another Samsung Q2U?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Join the
You know,
club.
I'm starting to wonder whether Bill has some kind of, pecuniary links to that company.
No,
I've got
All
6
he
of
does
them.
is-
Q2U Nation, baby. Yeah.
They're the all-purpose. I mean, they just work, don't they? I mean, if you don't need anything else to get that thing up and running and have a good sounding.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you can go either way. I love that it's, you want to go USB and you want to go XLR,
Yeah.
bring it on.
There's really
for now, it's USB on the laptop, but it's getting converted to XLR to go into the ham radios. So should get good audio out of there too.
Yeah. It's just a nice, clean, nice tone. Yeah, it's good stuff.
there's no real reason if you're just using it for podcasting. There's no real reason. There's no responsible reason.
This
to
is
do
a
anything.
toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got it just because I thought, I like the company. I like seeing these mics.
We buy all this
And-
other stuff because we're nerds, and that's what nerds
Yeah.
do.
I do like the fact that this has that technically no proximity, where it just gets louder instead of changing tone.
I've got the
That's
same
sort of-
mic Eric does. I just have
Yeah.
this foam thing over it, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's really the only supposed benefit is that Electro Voice has this proximity. I forget what they call it. It's like a specific technology. In between, this is the RE320, and then they have the RE20, which is the more expensive version. Which I tried, but I liked my voice better on the 320 instead of the 20. But
I saw a side-by-side comparison in a video on YouTube, and it just did not... The comparison... There was something there, but was there enough there, the law of diminishing returns and all that? Was there enough there to justify the increase in cost? No, not for us.
And you know what? The only reason I got this is because Guitar Center had it as a used item, and the guy said he used it for kick drum, which is another, I think of common use for this. And I got it for half of what you'd pay new, and there wasn't a mark on it. So I said, yeah, I'll try that. But yeah, I've tried a bunch of different ones, and I'll tell you what, the Q2U still is just one of those just stellar performers in isolation, tone, all around, just ease of use, build quality, price. It's kind of the unicorn microphone. So it's hard to not make that your recommendation to someone. What mic should I get?
And it really...
That's the one.
It can really be the last mic you buy, at least.
I still use it,
I use them when we go on the road with the 3FT because, of course, I don't use a USB. We use a XLR, but that's because we have to hook 5 microphones up to one interface to make that work.
Yeah,
but,
you try to do that with USB, it gets a little confusing.
Woo, man. the lag and everything you get, yeah, we tried it. But
well, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought another person into the fold, and happy to have you here, Ben.
Thank you. But speaking of mics, audio processing, what's everybody using pre-process? I want to try and stop clipping.
Pre-process?
Yeah, before it goes out.
So
Just so you're not clipping and overdriving and all that good stuff.
since we started using this chat bot on Discord, I really don't use anything because this chat bot kind of filters out all of the...
I mean, if you want to play with something, I would say the easiest thing to use is Easy Effects.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I've got
That's
it up
if
and
you're
running
on...
already.
Easy Effects is about your only real good option
if you're on pipe wire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
It's not-
there's a version that will work on Pulse, but it's called Pulse Effects. So, and yeah, I think their default filters are pretty good, especially if you have like like a gate to kind of keep low humming and like background noises from getting through, and then there's a sort of a de-esser that's pretty decent. And outside of like a hardware solution, there's not a lot real time like pre-processing stuff that I've used that I've been happy with other than Easy Effects.
Honestly, I wouldn't
The only
screw
thing
with
I've
it.
used-
I wouldn't screw with it since we're using this chatbot too, because it really, the more bits you send through Craig, which is the name of the chatbot, then the more Craig has to work with, and then the when I go to download it and import it into Audacity, I get a lot better quality sound that way if you don't mess with it. So
The only
OBS Studio has quite a bit of stuff.
there's
built
plugins
in.
for OBS for that too. Yeah.
but it's a heavy, complicated solution, I think, for audio. If you had to do any type of camera capture or screen capture, then yeah, OBS becomes a more attractive thing. But for just audio, I think OBS is a bit of a pig. Not that it doesn't work, but yeah, I just think, and
It's
the
overkill.
stuff that's built in, I still think kind of. So I agree with Bill mostly in terms of the noise cancellation and stuff like that, because Craig does a very good job of that. And Craig, I know it's a person's name, but it's the recording tool we're using. But
We're using
the
it
one
right now,
thing that I
actually.
still will do is for sibilance, because I have pretty sharp S's sometimes, is it depending on how I sound, I may use Easy Effects with the sibilance filter just specifically for that. But otherwise, yeah. And then you have Discord as well, has a lot of, you got to be careful because it does a lot with the audio in terms of like isolation, background removal, the sensitivity, the, voice activity and press to talk. There's literally a bunch of stuff in there you have to kind of, it can do things you don't intend to do. And like, I guess to Bill's point, less is more in the sense that you can put filters on top of something, but once it's been recorded that way, you kind of can't go backward. So
Because most of the work that's put in is going to be post-processing when it comes to our shows, because nobody is the people that are watching live, I mean, there's some value in that, I suppose, but even that is going through Discord before it goes back out to, except for me, mine's going directly through OBS and then out to YouTube.
And Discord has a lot built in.
Yeah, there's a lot of
normalize
compression.
audio.
That's my point. Is there's a lot of compression going on, mid processing, some compression, and when you do a lot to your sound before it even gets to that point, you're running the risk of a lot of problems, including lag. Depending on how good of a piece of hardware you're using, you can run into problems with lag when you start screwing around pre-processing. So I don't even have Easy Effects installed anymore because I ran into too many more problems. It was creating more problems than it was fixing, to be honest, because when we started using Craig, then a lot of our problems started melting away, and I mean a lot. Because
I have to see. I think one of the issues that I was hearing a lot in pretty much all of the podcasts you were managing, Bill, and I heard you mention that you had someone else editing on a mintCast from probably years ago at this point. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. So it's leveling, and this is something that I think drives me crazy with all podcasts. If you don't level the audio so that everybody's voice is at the same volume, it really can be very annoying to deal with, especially if you're in a car or something where you have to everyone's talking at the same volume, and then you got one person who's 30% quieter, and all of a sudden every time they talk you have to crank the volume, and So that's something that I still think Craig doesn't do as well as something like some of the other tools I've used. So
No,
Okay.
I think OBS actually does that really well because you can watch the levels and
Speaking of levels.
adjust.
yeah,
Yeah.
Joe, you're so quiet.
I'm super quiet. My levels are too low now.
You're 25% the
irony.
volume. Yeah,
There, is that better?
It's better.
Getting there
Better?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
That's good
Almost.
enough.
That should do it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
So
No, but OBS it's got the bars there to so that you can compare your audio to everybody else's audio. Now that's not a perfect solution because everybody else's audio comes
because
across
I've got
as
2 bars I'm looking at. One is for me and one's for everybody else.
yeah.
So, yeah.
But you can get it as close as possible with just that. I mean, it was different when we were doing everybody's audio separately, but that was a lot more work.
So I was just going to say about Craig. So the last episode I did, the one with Popey, I used Craig, but this time I didn't take the separate FLACs that come down. There's one of the options is the multi-track where it's already done it or will do it for you. So I thought, come on, let's try that, see what that's like. And basically, apart from the intro and the outro, which I did in Audacity, the rest of it was all done in that. And I found it interesting that Bill then went, "Oh, this is really good audio." It's like, yes, because I didn't actually do it.
Well,
Which made me think that's. But they always have it as red to say that it's experimental feature or something like that.
it just means that it's using built-in WebRTC technology to do it in your browser midstream before it gets to the download phase. And in the case where you've got 2 microphones, basically you and Popey, in that last interview, it actually worked really, really well, and it would probably work for you.
And he wasn't even using a dedicated thing. He was just doing it off his Bluetooth earbuds.
Oh, jeez.
If I were still producing a podcast, I would still pay for Auphonic because it's just worth it to me. I mean,
I'm glad you brought that up, though. Yeah.
Nothing else I've ever used has been like magical like Auphonic is. It just
That's the power of
makes
AI.
me look like a genius. Well, the leveling is perfect, and so,
Yeah.
and in terms of background removal, like it's just flawless when it comes to the way it's applying. Because I feel like every time I start going too far down the rabbit hole of any of the filters in the varying editing applications, whether it's a DAW or whether it's Audacity, it starts to get digitized. It gets a really ugly kind of like warbled effect or something. Whereas Auphonic, you just tick those options, and it just comes out like it's as if we're sitting in the same room using the same microphones on the same capture device. Like that's how clean and perfect it is. So anyway,
Yeah, I think their automated tools probably understand all of the filters that need to be used.
they're Germans, man.
Oh gosh.
Who else is going to do it better
Not
than the
the
Germans?
not
That's all I
the
gotta say.
headlight windshield wiper people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, Audi, those new Audi headlights where they like cut out the light around something. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah. They're fantastic.
Really cool.
I'm having
It's
trouble
really cool.
concentrating looking at Jim's camera right now. It just looks like
Look at that camera.
an
Look at
amazing.
that camera. Look at that camera.
It looks like it needs to be on the roof of the Sistine Chapel. I'm telling you, it's just fantastic.
So tell us what
I
camera
wanted-
it is then.
Nope,
I
save
wanted
it.
to go from having the worst video to the best, and I
And
think
you
I
did
accomplished
it.
that.
What'd you do? Go buy a $500 DSLR camera and hook that up with a USB cable and.
Well, I'll tell you. Are we starting the show or?
Oh,
or
we
what?
we've been going. This is
We've been going for 20
Roundtable
minutes.
is way
Yeah,
more.
Roundtape's just
Yeah.
I didn't see
I was
Craig
shooting the
recording, so I assumed that we
I'm not
weren't
using
recording.
Craig. I'm
We
just
don't-
using the
we don't-
OBS. This is
Yeah.
this is laid back.
Oh, okay.
We just
not
we
putting
just
near-
stream it. We don't really. Yeah.
We're not putting near the effort into this.
Oh, okay. Well, then I might as well talk.
I can drink
was saving my
while I make
story.
this show.
Well, I happen to have a lot of photographic and video and lighting equipment. And I was watching Linux OTC a few episodes ago, and you guys were talking about cameras. And I said, well, I started looking on Amazon, and I said, for a webcam. And then I said, wait a minute, I own cameras. I think some of them, or at least one of them, could be used as a webcam. And when I Googled it, sure enough, the best camera body that I own, they released a firmware update, which I had never got around to.
So I was right.
Messing. And and it enables one to use this camera as a webcam. So I own some DSLR cameras. I've always had Canon cameras. However, that's mostly what I shoot stills with. However, a few years ago, I purchased a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, which is a fairly sophisticated camera that has interchangeable lenses that a lot of cinematographers use to shoot everything from music videos and fashion and corporate videos, and it's used as a B camera on mainstream movie shoots and a lot of different things like that. And of course, I also already own some nice quality Canon lenses. Now, the zoom lenses that I own, they're too long and heavy to really be practical. They'd be sticking way out. And but I did own a Canon 28 millimeter 1.8, and that is a prime lens. It means it doesn't zoom, and it's relatively short. And I thought, I bet you, just from experience, it's about the right, frame size. If it sits about, whatever this is, 18 inches away from my head. And at the moment, I've got the camera propped up on a book and a box because I have to go on Amazon still and get a mount to clamp it to the back of my desk and kind of semi-permanently hold the camera up there. But the firmware update, I had to boot into Windows. I had no choice because Blackmagic has software. It's only Windows and Mac. I did that. The very latest update did not have the webcam enabled software, but one of their betas from about a year ago did. And that's what I used. So it took me a while to figure all that out. But yeah, once I got it, I was very pleased, and I'm glad that I have video to be proud of now.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That's the way to do it.
I think I think that just sort of proves that there is a very limited amount you can achieve even with the best webcam, which kind of drives me a little crazy because they make such big promises. And I am happy with the one I have. It's a 2K camera, and I think in terms of an upgrade over the 922 I had, it's a world different. The light it picks up is way better. Like, it's a much better camera, but it's still not anything like what you have, simply because it's not really a camera. I mean, it's basically like a glorified smartphone camera from 5 years ago versus an actual photographic device. So
Right.
So yeah. And if it mattered to me, if I thought anyone ever wanted to see me in higher quality, like, I even hesitated getting this one because I literally thought, and I'm not being like self-effacing, I'm just saying, like, I don't need to be any higher resolution than I already am, because, like, you can see my facial expressions and, like, that's all that's important. No one needs to see my pores or anything, but yeah, if I was doing anything because I've had people ask, well, would you produce a video for my website, or would you do, like, basic stuff like that? And I think, well, I would if I had a reasonably good camera. And they're like, well, you could just use a cell phone camera. And I'm like, yeah, you can, but it's going to look like you used a cell phone camera. And, like, is that what you really want to, isn't it worth maybe just paying someone that has the equipment? Or, if you pay me enough, you buy me a camera, yeah, then I'll do it. But so there's so many limitations that it's amazing that software can overcome them. I have a Pixel phone that does things that it really by rights shouldn't be able to do with how small the sensors and the aperture and all that stuff is. But it still is nothing like an actual camera. So that's cool. I'm glad to see that you and how very noticeable it is that you're doing something far beyond a webcam.
Yeah, this is overkill. I wouldn't recommend anyone go, buy a $2,500 camera body and a $1,500 lens just as a webcam. I happen to already own it, and I saw it as just another like nerdy technical challenge that I can overcome. Hey, wait a minute, I could do this and
overcome.
So
blew it out of the water.
That's right. You've smashed through that wall. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a very shallow depth of field. So between here and here, that's what it's designed
for. That yes, exactly.
Yeah, but that field depth is part of what's making it so attractive.
Yes.
I think
it makes it look cinematic.
Perfect for what you're doing with it. Like if you were making YouTube videos and that type of content, it's literally like talking head content. It's perfect for.
Right.
Yeah.
So I talked about a little bit. We got to get to you, Joe, because you've not been on in a while and you've not talked about anything you've been working on. But I wanted to get into this real quick. These little laptops I bought. I talked about it on OTC, but just briefly towards the end of the show. The Chewy. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this brand, CHUWI. Yeah. Well, they're on eBay. These things sell from anywhere. This particular model, the 14-inch Hero Book, I picked this up for less than $130. I can't remember exactly how much, but that's how insignificant the price is. The specs you get for that price point, considering that it comes with Windows 11, so you're basically, $100 of that is the Windows license, which, of course, I blew that right away for Arch. You get a quad or
you run Arch?
I do, especially on this thing, because it needs to be as lean as possible. Dual core Celeron, not quite 3 gigahertz per second, but pretty doggone close, and 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig hard drive, 2K IPS screen, and it does 4K video rendering beautifully. Gets a little warm on the bottom right here where the GPU is, but it renders it just fine. The battery life is about what you would expect.
Garbage?
Well, what do we expect out of a Linux laptop these days, or out of a laptop that you buy with Windows on it?
Out of a Chewy, which is basically an AliExpress special. No, I don't expect the battery to be great, but have you tried like PowerTop or anything like that to see if that would improve it?
I'm going to try. What's the ThinkPad thing? The TLP, because there's no setting in the BIOS to restrict the charging to like 80%, like some of the modern BIOSes do. So I'm going to see if the TLP can do that. It's kind of hit and miss with that.
Default TLP is decent. There's very little you need to actually tune in there, so you tend to get like a kind of like a 15 to 20%, and then also Slimbook has a power something, and it's a kind of an alternative. I have to look at my notes on this, but I did a bunch of like research on it years ago, and have some decent optimizations. At the end of the day, I don't really carry my laptop around with me that often, where I'm that far away from a power source. Not like you would be. So,
I've got 110 power in my truck. It's not a huge issue.
Okay.
But if I'm like laying back in the bed and I don't want to mess around with power, I can fire it up and I can get through a movie with it. So
the reason TLP works so well is it's actually very good at like sort of switching things off. right? The things that would be
Yeah.
in the background, polling and waking up. And so I think generally, limiting your CPU is one way of doing that. And then, TLP is going to let you do things like USB and some of these other things that are the radios and all that. So you get a bit of and then it comes down to really specific things. Like you can tune based on your usage of a device and whether or not you ever use certain things. So you can really kind of go down some rabbit holes there and find some extra 2% here, 2% there kind of things. But by and large, that's why TLP is sort of the easiest, is because the default profile is generally
Pretty much
works.
good enough to go with, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the second one that I've bought. The first one I bought, I broke. And so I ordered another
showing
one.
off your Chewies again.
Wait.
Yeah.
He is.
Wait. How'd you break it?
So I threw down a pair of glasses and it hit the screen and knocked it off of the table, and it fell on the floor and a couple other things fell on top of it, and it broke the screen, and that pissed me off. So I grabbed it by one end and I smashed it on the table. And I'm not proud of myself, okay? Not proud of myself, but that's what I did.
That's a good way of breaking it.
Yeah, I'm not proud, but that's what I did. So I tried to order another one. Now, that was the 13.3-inch one that I originally had, but it had very similar specs to this one. It was just an older model of it. It came with Windows 10 instead of Windows 11. So I ordered another 13.3, and instead of sending me that, they sent me this, the 15.6-inch Gemmy book, which has the N100 quad core with 16 gig of RAM and 500 gig hard drive.
I've heard good things about the N100.
Now this is an impressive little piece of kit. Even if you bought this for what the price is supposed to be, which is over $300, this one is replacing my 8th gen i7. Because it's got quick sync. Both of these have quick sync. They're new enough Intel processors to have quick sync. So there's my hardware acceleration for OBS. But this one actually outperforms everything else I have outside of this Ryzen 7 that I'm on right now. And that's saying something, given that the N100 is all efficiency cores. There's no performance cores whatsoever in one of these. But like we said on OTC, the efficiency cores on these modern processors outperform the performance cores from 4 and 5 years ago, which is saying something. So I've heard it said that Intel has been in kind of a slump for the past few years. I'm not quite so sure that's true, because stuff like this kind of shows that they're still kind of innovating.
Yeah. Well, the N series, the N100, the N150, the N200, they're great, but you're not seeing a lot of adoption from the consumers because they're so used to the I series.
Yeah.
They're used to the alternate series like the Celerons and the Atom line being, crap.
And for those of us that are in the know, and I think I mentioned this in one of our chats, that I think these Celerons nowadays are just binned i3 and i5s. I could be wrong, but I believe
you're right.
I think
If they're performing at that level, I mean, that has to be it, right? I mean, because if it's wild that any Celeron, like you were telling me, the N100 and the N150, if they're running at, I mean, even like an 8th or 9th gen level, and I know that's 4 years ago, 5 years ago at this point, but still, that's for a Celeron, that's pretty wild. And like you said, they have quick sync.
But do these
Well, yeah, they have
mean
quick sync
anything
and
anymore? I mean, I'm sometimes
Can't
I
hear
wonder
you.
what exactly is a Celeron.
You're very, very quiet.
Sorry, what exactly is a Celeron? What exactly is a Pentium? Sometimes I just wonder whether what is the actual hardware differences? I'm sure you guys probably know better
So
than me.
when I worked
but
at B.F.
it-
Goodrich years ago, I worked in the curing department. This is a long time ago. Long time ago. We made tires. And you have this concept of a green tire, which is the point in the manufacturing when the tire is still, it looks like a tire turned inside out because it's curving upward instead of downward towards the bead. And it's a really tacky rubber. It hasn't been cured yet. Now, these green tires, we would call them, would go into molds, and that's where they would get the tread pattern and the letters on the side and all that stuff. B.F. Goodrich has a generic brand called Uniroyal, and I would cure sometimes the Uniroyal tires right next to the B.F. Goodrich tires in the same press, the same green tire, the exact same quality goes into both tires. The only difference between these two tires is $80, and that is the truth of this. And when you ask the question, why are we doing this? The obvious answer, and it's not so obvious at first, but the obvious answer is because if we don't make a cheaper tire, somebody else will. And, that's just the reality of why you've got Celerons, why you've got, lower performing or, I don't know, ostensibly lower performing chipsets.
And the idea that when you're making a chip, it doesn't have to be flawless to be functional. And that the flawless ones are the ones that are going to run better. But you can take that same die, and if a certain number of the transistors or whatever or cores aren't working, you disable them, and then you've still got a completely functional chip. You just can't sell it as an i9 or an i7 or whatever.
I mean, as it is, Intel's branding is a cluster fruitcake anyway. I mean, core this, it just. And anyway, apparently you guys are all becoming socialists now because you're all buying Intel. But
I'm sorry, but the
I
clock
digress.
speed is still the most important thing in my mind on these. And this Celeron is a 2.8 gigahertz dual core. And that's, sure, these servers I got behind me are running like 4 and 5 gigahertz, but for a 14-inch laptop, 2.8, that's bordering on 3 gigahertz per second.
How
You
was
guys-
the performance under Windows?
I got about halfway through the install process, and that was painful, honestly. So I
So we don't know.
I
find that
pulled that
interesting.
hard drive out and just
Oh, you
replaced.
put another hard drive in?
Yeah, I put a Samsung in it.
Oh, so that's okay. So that's the other thing I sometimes wonder about a lot of these things as to how I don't want to say repairable because these things aren't repairable as well. But just how modular they are because there's a tendency of soldering RAM on and soldering SSDs and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
I can't speak to this one. I think the only thing that you can pull out is the hard drive. There's a tiny little, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a little access door where you can get the NVMe drive. And that's another interesting thing. It's capable of running NVMe, but it comes with one of these M.2 SATA SSDs, which it looks like an NVMe, but if you look close, there's 2 slots. An NVMe has 1 slot. Honestly, the difference in performance with these is negligible, really, but the system can be a little picky as to what'll.
M.2 is another one of those things that's all over the place because there's so many different types. There's B, there's M, there's B plus M, which was what you had in your hand. There's A, there's A plus E, SATA. It's just all of it gets to be annoying, and then half the time you try to order the right thing and it's just wrong.
So I just get Samsung NVMe drives, and they seem to work.
NVMe, NGFS.
Yeah.
Does anybody, given that like we're heading towards most processors having performance cores and different cores for different purposes, is overclocking still a thing? I mean, do people still do that or care to do that? Is there any benefit to it?
I'm sure that there are people that do, but I don't really see the benefit in it anymore, and definitely not in a laptop, just because of heating constraints.
Yeah.
A benefit?
No, I would think that'd
I
be
don't
more on
think
the
so.
desktop, but I
Yeah.
just I don't know if people still do that.
It's just that
Well-
these modern processors they do so much throttling and winding up that, and they're really efficient at doing that nowadays. I don't know
Yeah.
how much benefit you get from overclocking these days.
Heck, processors run hotter than they used to, so that tells me
Yeah.
that these companies are taking the overclocking that everybody used to do on their own and just baking it in.
Themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
baking it
people
in.
used to crack the chip apart and do. I mean, there was like wild
Yeah,
stuff people would do.
trimming down the cover plate so that you can cool it better and blah,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'm not doing any of that crap. Sorry.
Nowadays, computers can do, even older computers like mine. My newest computer is a decade old at this point, and unless I was going to do something very specific that I needed, a lot of processing power or a GPU, like play sophisticated video games, edit 4K video, 3D modeling, or something like that, you could get away with doing everything, including podcasting and everything else, a lot of creative stuff with old computers. You don't need something super duper fast. You don't have to spend your money buying an expensive computer, unless you
The issue
just
is
want
Windows.
to.
The issue is Windows, because Windows
Yeah.
just runs like a dog on anything.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. We're
Yeah,
using
well-
Linux, so we know.
So we're using
yeah.
Linux, so we're in a we're a minority of people who don't necessarily need the highest and newest stuff. But
Yeah.
there was a guy that I know who was interested in trying Linux, and he said he was going to buy a new laptop for it. I said, okay, well, I don't know why you want to buy a new laptop for it. You can just use one of your older ones. And he's like, oh, I don't want to use an old one. Why? Well, because they're slow. And I'm like, I don't think you understand exactly how Linux works. And
Yep.
he's the guy who's like, I need to have 32 gig of RAM in my laptop. Why? Because I've got like about 100 Chrome tabs open. I'm like, I think there's more of an issue about your tab management there than really about the memory usage. But hey ho.
Well,
Photo services and cloud storage services make their money off of people being lazy.
Yeah.
You filled up all your photos instead of like going back and deleting all of the completely pointless videos and whatever.
Oh, speaking of my wife, or
How did we get there?
Well done, sir. Well done.
her pine time finally gave out on her. So you guys
Oh,
will
really?
be happy to hear that.
Did the screen give out or what?
So it stopped. It went to some kind of strange splash screen, some weird infinitime splash screen that I've never seen before. And you try to do the hard reset where you hold down the power button and then it reboots, and it takes the little pine cone changes like colors I'd never seen before.
Yes.
And then it goes to that, and it stays lit until it drains the battery completely out on that.
And now did she look at you incredulously and say, "What do you mean you can't fix it?"
I think she accepted it for what it was, because I always kind of I think I tempered.
$25 watch.
Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job in temper.
I got
And I
5
also
weeks out
told
of
her
mine. I mean, that's $5 a week. So I mean,
yeah,
you can't-
and I told her the bad experiences you guys were having with them, and the fact that we got this, because I've been using mine this whole time too. I never updated the firmware. Mine actually still works.
yeah, you got the one good one.
Yeah, which I don't expect mine to last much longer, but I gave it to her to use for the time being. I just wearing a watch in a time where everybody's carrying time around on their phone is kind of tough for me. I don't know.
Well,
It's
it's
funny,
not
you
just
gotta-
a
you
matter
gotta-
of using it as a watch. I mean, it's to track your health too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I use my smartwatch almost exclusively at the gym. for timing workouts, heart rate, all that.
Where's
sort
your
of stuff.
microphone, my dude?
I genuinely get home and take it off.
You know what?
know.
I appreciate sleep tracking for mine, so I leave it on. But I tend to not feel like I don't have my phone on out loud notifications, so I have it on vibrate most of the time. And I don't tend to feel it if it's in my pocket, and so having it on my wrist is an advantage because I will feel my notifications.
And it's so
I do
quick and
like-
easy just to, okay, this person sent me a message. They can go to hell.
Yeah, because you can still get those young eyes.
I like being able to. I'm one of the weirdos who remembers the promise of talking on your watch, communicating on your watch. And
that never gets old. I must say that never gets.
I still use my watch. I use my watch, and nobody has ever said to me, "God, what are you talking to me on? It sounds terrible." Like everyone's like, I mean, it must sound decent. And I use it for timers, and I use it for alarms, and I use it for. I mean, I like having a watch on my wrist. I really do. And when I'm not wearing a smartwatch, I'm wearing an old dumb watch, Casio or something. So
TikTok Shop has those old Casio calculator watches that I used to wear in middle school. Believe it or not,
you can still. Yeah, they still. I just watched the special on the one like Casio that they came up with 50 years ago. That was like the first LED watch that everybody had, and they still make it, now because it still sells and people still wear them. So
God, I was such a nerd with that thing. But
you use the tip of your pen to like punch in the numbers.
I wanted one so bad.
I mean, it looked like a proper computer with a keyboard. I mean, it had. You could do. I don't remember all the things you could do. It had an address book in it and everything like that.
Bill,
it was the first little PDA, really.
Right? Yeah.
Bill, when you put your package together for me, are you going to put that Broken Pine Time in it?
Shit.
If you want Broken Pine Times,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I'll have to go get it out of the trash.
Whoops.
Yeah. No, I will. I will definitely send that to you. Sure. Yeah. Oh boy, I hope it ain't out in the bin. Yeah, I'll do that.
So many projects coming up. It's been so hot that I haven't even been able to spend time in my garage to be able to get some of the stuff done that I want to get done.
So just hanging an air conditioner in the window in that garage would not improve things.
Look, my electric bill is already like $400 a month. Don't add another couple of $100 to it.
You could run an extension cable over to from the side of the house. You could run an extension cable over to the pipe.
Unless I'm running it from the neighbor's house, it's still going to cost me electricity.
Well, no, not if you intercept it before it gets to your meter.
Oh, well, that's not illegal at all.
Our house has the original window air conditioner in the garage from, I'm not kidding, probably 1970. And that stupid thing, it's a GE and it still works. I mean,
that's awesome.
You turn it on and it takes about 2 hours to cool it down in there because it's just, it's hot as hell. But
my garage is not properly insulated, so.
Mine isn't either, but that thing is powerful enough. It's probably got regular Freon in it. That's why.
R12.
But it's powerful enough. Yeah, exactly, like the old core.
So at my mum's house, there is a microwave oven that she still uses regularly, which we bought 3 months before my sister was born. My sister is 37.
Oh, my.
Right? And it still works.
Does it go dong?
The lights dim.
No, it's a Toshiba one, so it's beep beep. It's got all the kind of
sure it's not a tapping
stuff.
No. Yeah,
I remember the tapping.
Does the rest of the house
my grandma had a tap
down when you turn it on?
Yeah, that's right.
It has been more reliable than any of the microwave ovens that we've had. We've got through about 5 in this house.
It takes 3 men and a boy to lift it, but yeah, it's reliable.
Just don't be jealous, yeah. Don't be jealous.
Listen, stuff used to last. I mean, that's the truth of it. I just had this conversation with my family. They had come to visit me, but I mean, things are just meant to break.
Well,
they literally. They've designed them to last 5 to 7 years, and then that's it.
how many 50-year-old refrigerators have you seen still working?
I was just going to get into that.
Washing machines,
Versus
drying machine,
10-year-old.
Freezers that have been frozen for 50 years,
Yeah.
Yep.
still working. And refrigerators.
Compressors are basically almost the perfect machine. They unless they're poorly made.
Yeah.
You know, it's really and yeah, especially if it's a top load freezer, like the old ones you have in your garage. Like those things last forever, and they use almost no power either. By the way, they're excellent.
I mean, even our fridge freezer, which we bought, which I remember everybody telling me, don't buy this brand. Why? Because this brand's rubbish and this, that, and the other. Has lasted hitting 15 years now, and it's still fine.
Yep.
Oh, I mean,
I bought ours used for $400, almost 15 years ago, and it was already probably 10 years old at that point, and it's wonderful. And I dread the day that it doesn't work anymore because I know I'm going to have to go buy some abomination with like, why do they use those ugly white LEDs and everything?
So you're making jokes, but I just bought a stove for $1,800 and it connects to my network. I don't know why yet. I haven't gotten into it. And I bought one of them refrigerators that will order milk for you.
No.
And
no, mine won't. Mine won't.
No, mine won't, but not because it won't do it.
Because it can't.
Because it can't. Because I will not connect it to my network because I do not trust LG to update the firmware on this stuff.
It's hilarious that you were mentioning washers and dryers because, you know, me and my wife inherited a washer and dryer from her grandma, and it was already like 20 years old or something. It was old when we got it. And we used it for another like 10, 15 years on top of that. And then we had to buy new ones eventually. Yeah, eventually shit does wear out. And then like 2-3 years later, I'm replacing parts on things. I'm already looking at trying to get a new dryer because I don't want to do all the bearings on this current dryer. And the board has already gone out once on this dryer.
The other stupid thing, especially the washers, is now they do this. I know we're getting squarely into old man screaming at cloud territory.
We've been an old man.
Really?
But yeah. But like the cycle things where it's like it's like a 90-minute cycle. Like what the hell is it doing? You know? Like I get that it saves water and it saves power, but like there's also such a thing as saving time. Like
PowerTop says I've got 7 hours left on the battery and it is at 67%.
You need
not
to
a chance in hell.
You need to let PowerTop run and do some calibrations.
Yeah, at first it's not going to be right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't have
with
TMP.
it unplugged.
Yeah, it's unplugged. Running GNOME because I've anecdotally heard that Wayland is a bit more efficient than.
So am I the only person, a bit of a tangent here, that goes on FlatHub and just like browses?
Oh yeah,
for
I
hours?
do. Because there's always something new on there. Yeah,
it's incredible how many people are submitting new stuff and like how good these apps are.
And you can put them anywhere. You can put them anywhere and have the exact same experience.
That's what she said.
Ha ha! No, she didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've never met her.
I'm wondering how long I could hold out, as I talked about a little earlier, on never using a flat pack. I take it as a challenge now.
Go for it, man.
Can I go the rest of my life without using a flat pack?
Honestly.
I'm curious to see. There's been so many sort of stops and starts with package management and universal packages. I feel like Flatpak has so much momentum right now that, especially with all of the advent of the immutable and composable stuff, like everybody's pushing hard on it and they keep, adding new capabilities. I'm really curious to see what happens when they add financial stuff to it, because they're supposed to be adding the ability to purchase apps and stuff like that, or donate, I guess.
You
straight
said
through.
you use App Image. Do you use Snap?
No, never use
No.
the Snap, never use the flat pack. Usually system packages. I make use of several PPAs because, of course, being Ubuntu based, you can do that.
Yep.
And then I will, for certain programs, I'll download, like Discord. I downloaded the dev file direct from Discord. They even prompted me to update to the new version just before I signed on here today. I will, a few, programs will have like a script or some kind of executable, that you can download. That's very specific. That's the only way they deliver it. And then, yeah, I have several app images.
Honestly, I would prefer to be able to do it with a PPA. I don't know. Some people think that's probably not the safest way to go, but
So I've been having a few adventures on different distros. I did try Debian, Trixie. It's Trixie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Debian 13. And I did notice the differences, put it that way. To my surprise, I wasn't expecting to, because everybody kind of said how great it was. And it was fine. It was perfectly fine. But you could kind of tell the kind of ethereal Ubuntu or Mint source that's put on, the Debian base. And yeah, if you need anything extra, you can add repos and stuff. But anyway, I thought it was fine, but I could see why it's not, why distros like Ubuntu and Mint exist.
and it's less so than it once was, but it's still that much more, little bit of polish, little bit of ease of use, a little bit less difficulty to get up and running, because like you said, well, like these Chewies, I could probably just throw Debian on there and have a perfectly good experience because it's all Intel and there's no surprising hardware whatsoever. But as time goes on, and those repos will get further and further from the latest versions of all of the software that's available out there, things will start to show their age. And that's where flat packs will kind of come in handy, because you do still have access. But the only holdout there, well, a couple of holdouts, is the proper integration into the desktop. Sometimes like the interoperability with the hardware, and then just the size of the installation. Just because it has to.
One of the, I was surprised that apparently that CashieOS doesn't like flat packs and snaps. Apparently,
Well,
Didn't mind.
no, it's I looked for it, and it's specifically the Cashie team says we do not advocate the use of any of these, which I thought was a bit
that's
interesting.
probably a philosophical thing more than functional.
Technical,
Because if you went on to FlatHub and followed the instructions for Arch, you would probably get the same sort of experience. The thing is, with anything Arch-based, if it is Arch, hang on, honey. If it was anything completely Arch-based, then you're going to get, like, you've already got the problem of up-to-date packages solved, So if you're going to...
almost.
To a degree, yeah.
But I would contend that sometimes those packages are not being packaged by the developer, and so in some cases, I actually think the Flatpak would be a better. So, and there's no reason you can't use it on Arch, because you can still have the underlying base that's up to date, and have a Flatpak where there's not something that's available. Like if I had the choice between a Flatpak and an AUR package, I'm going to go for the Flatpak.
Yeah, that's what I prefer as well.
And I think that if, Jim, in terms of like using those types of things, I think if you were to ever use something like, Bluefin or Bazite or one of the immutable composable distros, you're not going to really have a choice. Like those things are reliant on Flatpaks.
Yeah.
So that'll be like sort of the time when you may start to use those things just sort of organically.
Yeah, if I was going to do it, I would, I have an old laptop I bought on Craigslist that I'm not using for anything right now. If I wanted a distro hop, I would do it over there because I don't know how people distro hop so willy nilly. I mean, I spent days, hours,
Oh, well,
and
tell him,
weeks,
Majid.
setting my computer up. I'm so particular about everything, the keyboard shortcuts, the way everything works. I couldn't just wipe it out. I mean, I would be like, oh my God.
You've got to be a
like,
madman.
take
You
a-
have to be a
a month
psychopath.
to like
You have
get
to.
everything back.
So I agree with you.
Oh,
and
Bill, stop flirting with
Hold
me
on.
like that.
So I agree with you. And so here's why you have the way that Majid approaches it is multiple machines.
Yeah.
And why do we do that, Majid?
Because
Would you like to
you
explain
need
the
to have-
beginning of the last show?
Yes, because we need something to just work. And
Yes.
sometimes you need to
And
have
why do
something
we
that you
need
can
that?
rely on, and the
And
other
why do-
things you can experiment on.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Separate machine. Buy a machine on Craigslist for $50, or if you want
Well,
to play with other.
Yeah, I bought
OS.
a Dell Latitude with an i5 8th gen for about £90 off eBay, which I thought was a reasonable deal. 16 gig of RAM.
There you go.
You know, there you
Yeah.
go. So yeah, and that's my distro hopping machine.
Yeah, I bought a Latitude 8th gen i5, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte drive for 140 off of eBay, and it's a beautiful piece of equipment. It's a tablet factor, 2-in-1 form factor. It's basically a shameless ripoff of a Microsoft Surface Pro, that same era. And
I had one. So I had one
okay.
to talk about server stuff, but I'm starting to go hypo now, so I need to eat. So you're
okay.
gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait for that one.
Okay.
Wait with bated breath. So
We will.
I'll catch you guys later.
All right.
Okay,
See
bye,
you, man.
man.
But the thing he wasn't saying is that we went to start recording Linux OTC and he wasn't there yet. And the reason being that his CachyOS laptop blew up on him. And then he had Bluefin installed on another one, and that didn't work. And so he had a third one with Ubuntu on it that did work, because of course Ubuntu worked. And so in that case, yeah, you can have a little bit of bravery, but I agree with you. I have a install of Pop OS, which is still using Ubuntu 22.04 as its base. So I mean, it's pretty long in the tooth at this point, but they support, so 2204 be supported until 2 years from now. So technically, I can keep running it. And again, because I'm using Flatpaks for most of my software, I have all of the most up-to-date versions of things simply by the, fact of doing that. And the base itself is still well supported. There's no issues there. It's if I cared enough, my old self, from 10 years ago wouldn't have stood for it, because the version of GNOME on here is 42 and the most recent version is 48, which I would have been like, 6 versions out of date. Are you kidding? But now I'm like, you know what actually am I getting out of that 48, GNOME 48? And yeah, there's some nice to have things, but by and large, it's still GNOME.
That's
I'm
the
still using the
sickness that
same
we buy into,
extensions.
though.
Right. That need to I
Yeah.
have to have the latest version, which would have been true for the software. So and that's what really drove me. Yes, the desktop environment was one thing, but it would have definitely driven me to use either a rolling release or a newer fixed release, because the version of Audacity would have been 8 versions out, or the, whatever software I was using. If it wasn't a publisher that was releasing its own deb file, if I was relying on the repository of the version of Linux that I was on, the distribution, then that's where it was like, I can't really do that. But now I don't even see the reason to run something like Arch, because I have all the same versions of software as if I was running Arch. I've got the latest everything, and I'm on a very, well-proven old base that doesn't need to change. And to your point, Jim, I've put dozens of hours into tuning this thing the way that I want it to be. And I think about all of the software I'd have to reinstall and like all of the things I'd have to tweak. And it's just like, I think I'm okay. I think,
Yeah. Yeah, I felt I had no choice. My hard drive was 120 gigs and on Mint 21.3, I was out of space. I couldn't download any more emails, nothing, So I was forced to upgrade. So in that case, all right. But now this 250 gig drive, we'll see if this computer, 13 years old, this laptop may last me another 3 or 4 more years. Who knows? And then maybe I'll fill the hard drive up then. Then I'll finally maybe need to buy a new computer.
yeah. And I mean, I was telling the story of my daughter has a friend with an HP that has i7, but it's a 7th gen. And it's a nice little laptop. I think it's probably a 14-inch screen, and it has. So the age of the laptops for me, like the way I can kind of tell, is it has one of those screens where if you're off axis, the viewing angle is absolutely atrocious, which is such a hallmark of like those older laptops.
That's real old, yeah.
But it still runs Windows. Technically, it's pretty slow, running updates and stuff like that. But if I know that if I were to put Linux on it, it would be like an immediate breath of fresh air, and it would run beautifully on that, that older or 7th gen processor. So I agree with you. Yeah. And I have stuff that they just, like my daughter's laptop is old, really old. It's one of those old silver Dells that they haven't made in like 10 years. I don't know. And like, I keep telling her, do you want to get something else? She's like, no, I like it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not slow. It works fine. It's a gigantic 17-inch screen and full-size keyboard with the numpad and everything. And, there's nothing wrong with it. It runs Ubuntu, and she's happy with it, and I'll just keep updating it as long as it'll run. So,
yeah.
I've put people onto Ubuntu on very old laptops because they just used them to. I've got a friend that he collects garden tractors, and he just uses them to go online looking at stuff like that. And he was going to buy.
He uses the garden tractors to go online.
No, the laptop.
I'm
sorry. And he had an old Dell, and he was just going to throw it away because Windows was just running like a pig on it.
Yep.
I said, well, I can put Ubuntu on this, and it's going to run like the day you bought it. In fact, better.
And did he go, yeah, bullshit?
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. And so I did, and man, I can't believe how fast this thing is. Windows.
Well, so you have those two divergent paths, right? One is I can put a SSD in it instead of a spinning rust disk,
yeah,
and that'll be
that
like,
too.
Oh my god. And then, yeah, if you've still got an old version of Windows, like I'll just put Linux on here. And I love the dual booting approach because that really is the kind of best of both worlds, where if someone's hesitant and you just say, okay, well, if you hate it, then you just reboot and you go right back to Windows. And especially if you set it so that Grub remembers which choice they made.
Yes.
The last time they booted. Yeah.
Well, in this case, though, the thing came with Windows 7, and Windows 7 was well beyond. Even a fresh install of Windows 7 was running like a pig on this thing. And so I just I said, if all you're going to do is your web browser, can I convince you to just use this thing, and then I'll have your web browser right there? Because we've got access to all the browsers now, don't we, on something like Ubuntu?
Is there any browser that's left that doesn't run? So I've tried to use DuckDuckGo because they just came out with a browser, and I was just curious to see what it was like. And that's the last time I've used my Windows image, my Windows virtual machine. And because they don't have a version, and I couldn't get it to run with Wine, so I just thought, just to look at it. And it's yet another Chrome-based
right,
browser,
I was just going to say.
So it's nothing special, but I just was curious to see what it looked like. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Edge, Chrome, every Chromium, Vivaldi, Opera, like Brave, I think every single one I can think of.
Well, surprisingly, he was already using Firefox because somebody had turned him on to Firefox a long time ago, which was
God bless whoever that was.
Yeah, that was weird actually, to be honest. But I said, well, this thing will come with Firefox, so there's literally nothing I'll have to do, except I did set him up with a Firefox account prior to
sync this stuff,
and then synced it that way. When he signed back into that, then he would have everything right there.
That is beautiful, because if you remember those days of having to move your history and all that stuff around, that was a pain in the ass.
That was a ball ache.
Sync.
That's an enormous
and none of
folder.
Sync works great.
Oh,
Firefox Sync is beautiful. Yep.
I mean,
and even a lot of the extensions will sync their like setting and like that kind of stuff too.
Oh yeah,
which is
I've never
cool.
had a problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't sync is like your my experience has been if you're using any of the
stuff,
config flag stuff, the experimental stuff, that doesn't sync. But
which kills me is the tab stuff is the multi-account containers is a Firefox thing, and it doesn't synchronize between
that too. Yeah.
Machines for whatever, which I think is just stupid on their part. But anyway, sorry, Jim, you were saying something.
I was just going to say, I wish Thunderbird had a sync like that, but I do it. But at least if you Google it and figure out how to drag over the whole folder, Thunderbird, if you use local emails like me, it will bring back all your emails, all your passwords, everything's saved, all your local folders if you use offline.
You mean between your desktop and your phone on Thunderbird?
No, I mean when you do a new install, like when I did a new install,
okay.
I was able to bring all my old Thunderbird info. It doesn't have an account like Firefox, but you just have to manually copy one of the Thunderbird folders and it will bring everything over. Because that would have been a lot of work to recreate all my filters, all my local email accounts,
Yeah.
It did it like magic, like that. You just have to Google it and figure it out.
I feel like it's only a matter of time before that kind of thing is a reality, because Thunderbird has really picked up steam in these last couple of years,
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I really like. It's just not a use case that I think a lot of people have anymore.
I didn't think I had it, but I put it back on my phone after all these years. I'd been using K9.
Yeah, on the phone, it's beautiful because you have enough. See, I think most people have like just standard kind of. Everybody has a Gmail or iCloud or, you know what I mean. Like, so it's the people like us who have their own domains or they have is where I need a. I hate Microsoft's email clients, like all of them. So I have a Live account that I use for stuff just because I've had it for so long, but using it in Fire or in Thunderbird is so much nicer than using any of the Outlook things. Like, and thank you, Microsoft, for making everything Outlook now. Like every client they have is Outlook. It's like that's not confusing, considering it's not all the same thing. I use Outlook. Okay, well, what version of it are you using, or where are you using it? Because it's not.
They've always screwed us on email, though, because you remember when in the old days you could use the Outlook Express. Remember that when that was a thing on older versions, and then they took that, they grandfathered like older versions of. Well, my Hotmail account goes back to 2002. It's the second oldest email I've got, and. It was working on Outlook Express until, what was it, like 2005? I think it was, when they decided they were not going to allow older versions of Hotmail to work on Outlook Express. And so that's when I was in school at the time, so I had access. I bought a copy of actual, real, full-fat Outlook. So I had that, so it wasn't a big deal. But it was kind of a like, okay, why are you baking this into the operating system then if nobody can really use it, unless they had one of these weird new accounts. But then now everything is Outlook. I guess Hotmail is not a thing anymore. I don't know.
I don't know. Mine's a live account, and even that is kind of a weird thing for them. I think everything's like, even their personal stuff is all considered 365 now. So that's a good question. I'm not even sure, but yeah, Thunderbird, it's always been a solid piece of software. And then, when I look at it now, like see, that's just it. There's nothing sexy about an email client. There just really isn't.
But it's so easy to add. I mean, for me, it's when I install the client and then I start adding email accounts to it, how easy it imports those accounts and brings them in and doesn't give me a lot of trouble about the SMTP and all that nonsense that I really don't understand. It just knows how to suss all that out and get it up and running, And this Thunderbird seems to have that all down. It seems to be, and it's extendable to the point where you can pretty much get it to run it. What I'd like to see it do is incorporate with things like LibreOffice or something like that, to the extent Outlook does with Office 365 and whatnot, Yeah, that's what I'd like to see, because the one thing that we've really lacked on the Linux side is the sort of integration between all of the Office components, that Microsoft Office has kind of enjoyed ever since the beginning, because I think the first version of Office I ever used was XP. Well, the first one I owned was XP, and back then the integration between Word and Outlook, and then Excel and Outlook and Access and all that, it was fantastic, and we're really lacking that kind of thing with on the open source side,
Yeah, and I mean, we used Lotus Notes for the longest time. I don't know if you've ever had to endure the hell that was Lotus Notes, but and we didn't use Outlook, which was, at that point in my life, early 2000s, I was like begging, could we please use Outlook, because Lotus Notes was so bad. But yeah, I agree with you. Just the sort of it was the prototypical, what did they call it? It was the acronym, I can't think of it right now, but no, it wasn't PIM. I want to say PIM, like personal information management, but it was basically everything you needed. It was your email, your client, your contacts. People use those sticky notes in Outlook. I remember like having people freak out because they had everything in their life in those little sticky notes.
Them. Yeah.
And like if you lost them, it was like the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, it just sort of incorporated all of those facets of communication in sort of a pretty cohesive way. And because of the way, I mean, everybody just does everything in a browser anymore, right? I mean, that's why I think, obviously email clients aren't what they used to be, or even, important like they used to be. But
they seem to be coming back. I would have thought they were gone for good, and nobody was looking back. But apparently, no. It seems like people, and I think a lot of that is because we're still relying on email clients on our phones, because the vast majority of my email management is on my phone. And given that I've got all of these email accounts that I'm looking at, if not managing, I need something that's going to aggregate them in a meaningful way, and if I can do that without installing 7 different apps, your Outlook, Yahoo, and your Gmail. I've got Gmail turned off now. That's disabled, which I didn't. That's impressive to me, because I didn't think I'd ever be able to get to that point. But because I'd been using K9 Mail for years, which is kind of, I'm surprised that still exists actually, but it does. It's still kind of on par with the Firefox or the Thunderbird development. I don't know what differences there are, but it is two separate projects to this day. So that's, I'm still using these clients, and there is a clear difference between Thunderbird and everything else, because all of the others have, like the Outlook app is bad, but the worst one, Outlook is probably the second worst, and the Yahoo is worst because you're getting ads.
Yahoo is ridiculous.
It's just nonsense, and you can't.
It's spam all the time.
Oh, and the only reason
I
think the only reason I've held on to it is just the fact that I've had it so long.
No, I held on to mine as long as I did before I just let it die. Because anytime that, any site asked for an email address, I would use that so that they could send all the junk mail that they were going to send
Same
me
here.
to something I was never going to check. Ever.
I think Yahoo is all too aware that people use it for that. But whatever, whatever company owns that anymore, it's their lost leader, I suppose.
Yeah, it's my dumping ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? It's with that name too, where people will still pay $1 billion for it every 5 years or something.
I was surprised to find out there were still several thousand people paying for AOL.
Can you believe it? I had a guy I dealt with a couple months ago for a website who had an AOL address. I'm like, I didn't even know people still used AOL. Like,
well, some people kept
is
their AOL addresses, but they were able to, just use the email.
Yes, like. Yeah, anyway, I still have my Yahoo. Yahoo was the first email account I got in like 96 or something.
No, that was
my
AOL.
first one was probably Hotmail.
I still
Hotmail
have
was
it.
my
Also
second.
had a Yahoo.
Second.
Gmail, I was on board like day
Me too.
3 or something with Gmail. Like I was there.
Well,
That was when you had to be invited on or something like that.
I got an invitation from a buddy of mine, and like that was it. Like and honestly, I still to this day, there is no other email client that has all the things that Gmail does in the way that for a while there, they had, what was that client? The Inbox. Is that what it was called?
That was good. Yeah.
And they folded in a lot of that but I used Inbox while it was a product before they folded because it had snooze, it had delayed send, it had a lot of the stuff that I liked.
That just felt like the premium Gmail client.
Yeah,
basically is what that was.
I had an AIM account.
Yeah, I had that
and
too.
the reason I had an AIM account was because they were basically the first that had an integration that would allow you to be able to send IMs from your phone to a computer.
Well, it worked good it worked good with Pigeon.
Yeah.
AIM did.
Did you have ICQ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody had an ICQ.
Oh my god.
I still remember my number, my ICQ number.
Do you? Yeah. Oh, ICQ was the bomb. Yeah, that was good stuff.
That was
Somebody brought it
performance.
back. There's some service that is technically keeping AIM and ICQ alive.
Well, that's like when you say Pigeon, and I think to myself, like, why? What's it for? Anymore? Like in back in the day, it was amazing, but now I can't quite understand what the point is.
You can still go to
for a while,
TechSpot
I
and
used
download
an application called Trillion.
Yeah, that was the first. That was the first aggregator. That was the first one that put.
Yeah,
them all
Trillion was killer.
Yeah,
because you'd have one window that had all your different messaging services right there.
Then you had another one called Digby that was really good.
I didn't use Digby.
Yep. And see, Trillion still exists, and it's like, for who? For who?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know about Trillion because I installed it last year on Linux. First off, they mainly shifted their business to focus on the healthcare industry. They have some kind of arrangements where they have like secure instant messaging, inter-office or intra-office or whatever it is with the healthcare industry. But my brother and I were playing a board game online, and we didn't want to have to go log into like Facebook, which I don't use anymore, or some other service. So what we wanted was to be able to have an instant messaging capability where we could send each other links. So I installed Trillion on Linux, he installed it on Windows, and we were able to do that and, be able to play this board game online and send each other links to our move files. So yeah, it does work on Linux.
I guess
It's
because
in,
of
it's in the
things like
AUR too, by the way.
Telegram. Okay, but I guess because of things like Telegram, Discord, Element, and Matrix, and then of course that's all superseded by all of the social media. Like when I hear people are DMing each other on Instagram, I'm like, why? Why in the hell would you use Instagram as a means to communicate? Like, that sounds like the worst possible option.
I heard there's this thing called WhatsApp that a couple of people use.
I actually like WhatsApp. It's a cool client. They have a lot of cool stuff built in there.
I use it often.
I would totally use it if people like SMS sucks. I'm sick of SMS.
I wish I could get everybody off of that.
Just stop it already. Stop the blue and green bubbles. It's garbage. There's no security to it. Every message you send gets relayed through the ISP.
That works through your phone number is going to be garbage. I'm sorry, but Telegram is
think
garbage.
of all of the personal communications that people have, the information they send through an SMS message, and using it as a two-factor, SMS just needs to die, and the rest of the world has already seen fit to kill it. But we as Americans, for some reason,
Castro, and he told me the story about why Bluefin's named
we can't get on board with metric, and we can't get on board with anything on SMS. So
SMS is used for people that in America, anyone that you know in real life, your family, your friends, people that you might actually meet, coworkers or people you do business with. SMS is 100% entrenched. I don't see it going anywhere. SMS is 100% entrenched with people that you have, so-called parasocial relationships with, like this kind of thing, whether you're a podcaster, you're just participating in a community, playing video games or chatting about, sports or whatever. That stuff, it doesn't use SMS. That uses WhatsApp, and those kind of online services, Telegram, Discord, unless you're in Europe, in which case they use WhatsApp.
Yeah, I was just kind of in jest, kind of saying, nobody uses it.
Yeah.
I like to take the piss out of Majid with that. Majid, where'd he go? He went somewhere. Anyway.
He had to eat. He had to go eat.
Oh, okay. Because
his diabetes.
I think a lot of that is to do with the telecoms too, because with our.
Can you remember the days of paying per text message?
I can remember when we had nights. Remember nights and weekends, and then Sprint was the one that had the 7:00 nights and weekends, and that was just
the reason I got a cell phone in the first place was because Verizon let me call my wife, when she was my girlfriend, from Pittsburgh, and she was in New Jersey, and we could have calls. But you're right, it was only after 7 p.m. And then only on the weekend. So it was but otherwise, long distance on my home phone was, you'd pay $10 for a 20-minute conversation or something. It was absolute robbery.
I remember trying to convince my mom, because she passed away in 2011, and around about 2009 is when Mom and Dad finally broke down and got phones, and it took me a week to convince her that long distance was no longer a thing.
Right, where they're like, what do you mean we don't have to pay for it?
Because she's got a sister. She had a sister in Baltimore in those days. She's passed away now too, but she wanted to talk to her so bad. But it was like a holiday when the two of them were able to talk on the phone, and now they can just talk endlessly nights and weekends, as much as they want. That did not seem like a plausible reality to them whatsoever.
No,
but here it was, I said, well,
Yeah,
Mom,
I remember back in the day with, regular telephone service at home. If you were to call like the next, on your home phone, the next town or 2 towns or 3 towns over, that was like free. But
Yeah.
if you called like 4 towns over, like 20 miles or 30 miles away, that costs money. And then if you called like across the state,
it was
that
completely
was
arbitrary
more
too.
money. Yeah, it was a tier.
Actually, so does anyone remember this? And I don't know how much in the sticks you had to be to get this, but 4-digit dialing.
Yes, I remember.
Did you guys ever grow up somewhere
That I
where,
don't
like,
remember.
literally someone's? Yeah, our town, our whole section of southwestern Pennsylvania, it was 4-digit dialing because it was all the same area code.
Yeah.
So
When I was a little kid living in Iowa in a town of like 300 people, you could dial 4 digits and get
Yep.
to whoever.
yeah, my grandmother's number was 3816. I mean, that was it. Like, you didn't. And then when they brought in another area code, it was like all of a sudden you had to not only dial 7 digits, but you actually ended up, I think, in many cases, had to dial all 10 digits, which is just ridiculous. It's like you went from 4 digits to 10. You're like, and it's funny to think that before cell phones, you had to remember phone numbers.
Mhm.
And I had I had like rote memorization of probably 20 or 30 different people's phone numbers in my head.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now I don't even remember my own half the time.
I can specifically remember being a child, 5, 6, 7 years old, when you start to go out with your parents and my parents telling me how important it was to memorize the home phone number for the house we lived in northern New Jersey at that time. And and if I ever got lost or, go look for a policeman to help me or that kind of thing. And I could still, somehow it's seared in my brain, the number for a house I lived in 1974. But
Mhm.
there's, a half a dozen other home numbers landline numbers that I had like long after that, more recently until maybe 2005 or whatever. And I cannot remember those numbers, but that other number I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. You know what? I'm sitting here looking at Pigeon because now that I kind of badmouthed it, I'm like looking at it. And I guess I could see the utility of, like, they've got Discord, Facebook, Google Chat, Hangouts, Matrix, Signal, Yahoo, WhatsApp. So I guess if you did have like a lot of disparate chat services and you just wanted one place. See, my experience with that was that it was because the chat services are just slightly different enough that they all have their own sort of feature sets. And you'd really be getting like the most basic experience whenever you do an aggregator like this. So, yeah.
It was limited. Some of the services wouldn't work 100%. And then some of them tried to stop it from working.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because especially if you're doing any kind of advertising in your platform or something, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that I would care enough. I mean, and I guess, yeah, it just doesn't. I use my phone for so many things now that have become just easier to do on this form factor and in a dedicated app.
Is it because
that
the form factor, or is it because that's where the development of the communication stuff
it's
has-
probably both.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit of both. But yeah, I think that and especially social stuff, like the browser experience with a lot of the social platforms is pretty terrible compared to an app. And I mean, even something like Discord, you're getting an Electron version of that. I don't know. I just there's just not that advantage that I felt like there used to be using a full fat desktop browser. a lot of it used to be just that the phones themselves were underpowered comparatively. And
that's not a thing anymore.
well, I actually wanted to ask you this. Have you ever converted or encoded video on your phone, and it is jaw-droppingly fast compared
On my
to a
Note
standard
10 Plus, I did that, and I could not believe two things: encoding video and encryption on these ARM devices is
Yeah.
embarrassingly fast.
Yeah.
Compared
I mean, I've got. Go ahead.
compared to like a high performing. Well, of course, I'm talking a couple of iterations back. A high performing like i7 or something like that. It's crazy how much better it works.
And they're probably all using the same libraries, but I've got this app. It's called Video Maker, and like editing is very rudimentary, but good enough in many cases. I mean, you can add titles and do like transitions and add scenes and different stuff, and like it's more capable than you would expect it to be. At least I would. And yeah, when you're done, I mean, even like a multi-minute video, something that would take usually a almost like a 1-to-1, time to exporting or converting or whatever on an x86 processor. On here, it's just like it's done, and you're like, how is it done that fast? And I'll even send it to my computer and look at it, and it's full 1080p, or
yeah,
it's
done
like
correctly. And then you run it on Handbrake, and it takes like 2 to 3 hours, to do the same thing. And you're like, no way, my phone is, and it just
shows you, I think, what optimization can do when it's, the whatever libraries this app is using have obviously been built specifically for Android, and then running on whatever, set of instruction sets for that,
and the
chip
focus,
or whatever.
The focus on that particular architecture, because
Right.
they're no doubt assuming that people are using ARM-based devices to consume this content on nowadays.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, good. I'm glad that it's not just
No,
me
it's
then,
not just you.
yeah, I mean,
because I've got the S25 Ultra now, and I've not tried it, but I just remember thinking with the Note 10 Plus, which was a flagship in its day.
instantaneous. Yeah, it's so like instantaneous now.
Like, why is this so good on here? But all things are not equal, are they?
Well,
Have you been using Dex on it?
I have not tried. I don't have a TV in my truck right now at the moment because I almost ruined the TV I had in the truck prior because it like busted the back out of it from the bouncing around. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk about that as soon as I did get that up and running with something. It's installed. I have no doubt that it's. I can't imagine it would work any worse. But
this is the double-edged sword of like, I'm so disappointed. I need to get more information out of Majid to see, like, because I know he's using a Snapdragon. What is the desktop processor? The M something, or
I don't know.
No,
I thought about getting one, but they're just super expensive for what they
Well, they're
are.
super expensive. They're not fully compatible, so you're not going to get like a great experience. And but the idea that stuff does eventually trickle down, and like if they keep building these ARM for desktop processors, see, I would love to think that I could get one of these, Windows Copilot systems, and then within a couple years from now, and then be able to use that TPU, fully use the hardware, and then be using it with Linux so that I don't have to worry about any of the, spyware kind of junk. Like when I explained Recall to my wife, she just looked at me dumbfounded. She's like, who in the hell would ever want that? I'm like,
it sounds dystopian to explain it for what it is. It really
she's
does.
like, it looks at everything on your. I'm like, well, technically, you're supposed to be able to blacklist certain applications. I said, but are we really going to trust Microsoft to do the right thing? And maybe their idea of blacklisting is like, we don't see it. It's not that it's never captured; it's just not shown because I've seen them do that. It's more of a filter than a cutoff where it's not doing it. So, I mean, just the idea of it. It's like a wet dream for someone who's wanted to put a keylogger on your system, or an abusive relationship, or what I mean, like someone who wanted to surveil you. Having it built in at that level, you couldn't ask for a better solution for that.
The fact that they can pull that off though without like generalized outrage is just the fact.
It just shows you people do not understand.
They don't give a shit whatsoever.
I'm not so sure it's as much.
It takes somebody like us to explain, hey, have you thought about that? That is literally somebody, and then we break it down to what that actually is, and then people are kind of like, oh, well, yeah. Anyway, and then they go about their lives,
Well, and I like that. I read an article a couple days ago where the person said, look, this is to all the people who 10 years ago said, I have nothing to hide, and the misguided thinking behind something like that. I'm guilty of saying it. I did the same thing, where I was like, well, yeah, it's
the correct answer to that is you have nothing to hide, but you have everything to protect.
Yeah, right. I mean, or listen, at the very least, how much do you really trust these companies? I mean, come on.
You have everything to hide because everything about you is information to make you vulnerable to somebody who can use it against you, and there's no way to guarantee that information will not fall into the hands of people who are clever and evil at the same time and will use that information to try to get something out of you. And this is all too obvious in and I'd like to do another episode of mintCast in the near future where we talk about being safe online, because it never stops being relevant. The choices you make and the information you give, and just the level at which certain demographics of people are targeted for scams is just, it's staggering, because and it seems innocent. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. Send me a picture of yourself so I know that you're the person I think you are. And then you send that picture, and that picture is attached to so much metadata that a clever person can use that metadata to create a certain profile to attack you with. It's
this wave right now of age verification is going to be an absolute panacea for all of the government agencies and law enforcement agencies who have just been chomping at the bit to get more data on people.
Yeah.
As soon as you have to, and yeah, of course they're going to say, it's for the children's benefit, of course. Not to say that these same kids couldn't be getting access to, every other negative thing potentially if it wasn't for parental supervision. But, that aside, like the idea that we as a society now have to basically hand over our data to, we don't even know who. Like if you come across a website that somehow now needs your age verification, like who are the companies that are behind it? Where is this data going to go? Historically, those are exactly the times when it's the wrong company doing it, who has not been vetted in any way whatsoever, who has, at best, people who don't know what they're doing, and at worst, people who know what they're doing and are doing it for the wrong reasons. The laws that we have, the privacy laws, non-existent privacy laws that we have in this country that allow things like data brokers to exist in the first place, and that motive, that profit motive incentive even exists in the first place, which shouldn't, and given the current, climate we're in politically, like there's no hope that we're going to get any sort of a any of that's going to change anytime soon. And then you now throw this in the way, and it's like, am I going to give my state ID to some random ass company? Like, no, it's ridiculous.
Oh my
Like, of
gosh!
course I'm not.
Look at all the times that somebody's asking you to scan your ID. My credit card company has asked me to do that a couple times, scan my ID and send it to them.
Well, we wanted to do an Airbnb 3 or 4 years ago, and my wife's like, they're asking me for my license. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no.
They're like, yeah, they want me to upload my license. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, that's not going to
Like,
happen.
what, to rent a freaking house? Are you
No,
shitting me? Like,
It seems less weird to do it at a hotel when they ask you in person. It's really the same thing. Do you trust Sheridan?
It should
or,
be the
you know,
same thing.
I trust it because they're not scanning my license. If it's a human being looking at it and
Yeah,
verifying
they
it,
are.
and then
Nowadays, they don't just look at it; they scan it. And when you go to any hotel now, they absolutely scan your ID.
That
They don't
is
just,
true.
look at it, and
But
hand it back to you.
at least it's one level of obscurity
Yeah,
away.
it seems
It-
less
it-
weird, like rather than 'cause
Well,
you
that's
figure-
interesting. Does that? I mean, are you saying then that we are sort of? I don't want to say blinded, but what's the right word here? That
You're fooling yourself.
We're
to
fooling
think- I mean,
ourselves just because we're in the building that's represented.
Yeah,
that's representing that business.
The only thing I'll say is that it's more likely that Airbnb, an online-only service company, will get hacked and your ID will be stolen from that data breach rather than, whatever individual hotel chain you happen to check in.
Well, no, I'm saying, what if we have no way of knowing that we're actually speaking to the actual Airbnb or the hotel when we're being asked for our credentials like that.
It's some third party.
Yeah, I mean, at least we're actually there in the building. We know we are interacting with people because we are there in the building. Right. We know that we're interacting with people that worked for Hilton or worked for Holiday Inn or whatever. If we're like online and we're trying to, and especially at Airbnb where we're just talking to somebody that says they own a house and they're renting it out for, people taking a vacation or whatnot, that feels several light years away from being in a hotel and them asking to take a copy of your license. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but no way in hell am I gonna I find an Airbnb online and then I start interacting with people based on that information I find online, and they ask to upload my driver's license. Yeah, no way in hell I'm gonna do that. I might do it once I get there, and I'm in the house and I'm getting ready to take advantage of your services. But yeah, prior to that, no.
Yeah.
And then nowadays with Airbnb, and I've only used it a few times and in the past, not recently, but everything I read online, I'd be even more skeptical and sketchy about it since they lay all these extra fees on you. That's the whole business, is they hit you with all these extra cleaning fees and this and that. That's a huge part of their business, even though they're supposedly supposed to give you like the true pricing up front.
Right.
But now some angry individual who's like a amateur landlord, not a big corporation themselves. If you get into a dispute with them, they have your ID to like share it with anybody, to blast you on social media, to use it to dox you, harangue you, because you didn't pay their $300 extra cleaning fees. Suddenly now they've got your info to like harass you.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep. And every little bit is just an erosion. And in small ways, individual companies are doing it. But I think whenever you do pass it into a law, especially whenever you're mandating someone does something without a sort of standardized method of doing it, or a trusted method, or a recommended, like you just pass a blanket, blind law that says you must do this thing. Well, how do you even adhere to what the law states? Like, how do you know you're, doing the right thing? And if everything relies on some third party, it just seems like it's an absolutely terrible idea. But, I don't know what do you do, you know?
Don't use Airbnb, number one.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, I got to get going, guys. So thanks for the excellent conversation.
Yep, likewise.
And Bill, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to get going. Nope, he's muted.
Okay, yep. We'll go ahead and get going. Real quick, I wanted to bring it up before we go. Majid was, he mentioned in our Discord, we had some feedback regarding the setting up of a Patreon to start bringing in a little money for the show. And I thought, yeah, I think the time has come to maybe just give people the opportunity. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I don't want to set up like paywall type things because we're not putting ads on the show. But if I don't see the harm in having a Patreon and putting the show on there, and if people want it, because I think every time we've ever brought it up, the feedback we've gotten, it's been small, but it's been positive, you know. To bring in a couple bucks to maybe pay for the. We got a couple of things that cost money on the show, the web domain and stuff like that. So I wanted to bring that up and make sure we had a consensus on it. There has been a couple of people who have disagreed with the use of Patreon as a source. Patreon just happens to be the most prolific source of income for podcasters.
Yeah, I mean, in a just world, there would at least be decent, competitive alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, you got sponsors and you got things like that, but I mean, I think if you lined up 10 people that supported podcasts monetarily. Maybe 9 of them would probably be on Patreon. So that's what I'm going to set up for the time being. We might have other options moving forward, but I think that's probably the appropriate first step. Anyway, if nobody has anything else to talk about, I guess we'll go ahead and draw it to a close. I'm gonna add this. I've been recording this episode. I'm going to add it to our RSS feed. A lot of people... go ahead.
We're going to have to work something else out here because, I really didn't get to do any of my wanderings, so...
Yeah.
Is that the point of this one, though? Is this the wanderings episode? Oh,
it's supposed to be. So if you have wanderings... kind of assert yourself with them, I suppose. We probably ought to have...
Joe's always got wanderings.
There wasn't really a point where I could kind of have slipped it in there. It was very much a conversation the whole time, so I didn't want to step on anybody and just take over like that.
The way I did it was I kind of asserted myself and started talking about my Chewies and things like that. I kind of did it that way. I can see
maybe we could just have a prompt, even though this show is like more loosely formatted than the regular show, the Roundtable. We could just have a prompt where we at least remember to acknowledge everybody to say, hey, what have you been up to this week? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea, because I was struggling to come up with a way to make that happen, but not lose what Roundtable is supposed to be. And Roundtable is really supposed to be where we can, because you notice we put this show in the public room where anybody on Discord can join us. And I don't want to lose that. I know we don't get as much participation.
I want to hear what other people are working on too. I mean, if they join, I want to hear what their projects are.
Right.
Yeah, we could just say something like, hey, if you're new here, it's a free conversation, but, if there's anything you want to talk about, take a few minutes and let's hear what you're up to this week. If you have anything interesting you want to share with us, and at some point we all can just get that opportunity in between the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So, we will do better in the future. How about that? Did you have something like written out that you wanted to talk about, Joe? Or
Oh, quite a bit, but yeah, it's already like 4:00, so there's no point.
all right. Well, can you save it till next time, and we will make a point, and or we can add. You know what? We can make the next episode of mintCast about wanderings if you want, because we haven't really.
Oh, it's all good.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad
instead
idea.
of a innards. Yeah, let's just do a wandering.
Yeah. It's because I think the wanderings really have suffered, and don't think I haven't thought about that, because I know how important that is to Joe, and then I can't help but think the fact that we've lacked organization is the reason, like Moss hasn't been here and things like that.
We lack discipline.
Yeah, we lack discipline because we're a bunch of thugs.
I like that idea of doing wanderings for the main show. To me, the roundtable and like what you guys do on Linux OTC is more fun than the actual mintCast podcast that's well organized. The freedom to talk about different things. So I have other things I was interested in talking about as well. We could save that for the main show this week.
I mean, I would love to make the main show like news one week and wandering the next. That would be my ideal thing, because topics they're fine, but they're really difficult to put together. Whereas wanderings are way easier because everybody's always got something.
What if we did one, because we're doing 2 a month technically.
Correct.
One of them be an innards, and one of them be a wanderings.
And then just add news to both of them?
Yeah, we keep the news at the top. The news has been way faster, especially this last one, because, there was one thing whenever I started to add stuff, and then Majid added one, and then I had 2, and Majid read the CashEOS one, and I read the one about LVFS. No, not LVS. The firmware. The firmware. Anyway, yeah, actually LVFS. I said it right the first time.
Does that sound good to you, Joe? Or do you have any?
Yeah, I mean,
That's great.
Yeah.
And then that way, that gives. See, my problem is I really don't do enough in a week or two to have a decent wanderings.
Right.
But if I'm doing it once a month, I would probably at least have something to share, and then that sort of gives us the opportunity to do one really good innards a month and one really good wanderings a month, I think.
Yeah.
And the news is just kind of still something, because I think between news, security, and check this out, that kind of gives us that ability to slot things in there. And then if we do and this is just a suggestion. I mean, if you'd rather not do the news and do.
Well, I think there's sometimes when you have a news article or you have something going on in the news that by itself is sort of an innards topic. That can be a thing, and then the wanderings can be. Yeah, I like that idea. I know the wanderings have suffered a lot.
Okay, well, why don't we plan on maybe this next one, instead of doing an innards, we'll do a wandering, because I don't think we even have like a good innards anyway. So let's just do a wandering, and we'll just include any news and whatever people come up with.
That sounds good. Ben, can we count on you to be on that show, or what's
that show? No, I'm going to try. My schedule is just stupid with work. I'm going to try and make the roundtables more often.
Okay.
I'm trying to get my life more organized. I'm getting into ham radio, and it's getting me
Oh, that's interesting.
out of my shell. So I'm going to try getting out and speaking more, and eventually maybe. But
Good deal.
right now,
mintCast, the one thing that's unique and actually pretty nice about mintCast is it is a great place for somebody to get started who has a desire to talk about Linux in a podcast kind of setting. And yeah, that's where I kind of, my gratitude lies for getting started in all this in mintCast.
there's that worry too, getting started. And then I saw the rabbit hole that you went down. Now you're running 3 shows and.
That's I have nobody to blame but myself for all that, just because I really just kind of I don't know. I might be a bit of a crazy person. I don't know. I came into the show during a strange time when everything was kind of going to hell, and somebody needed to work out a way to get a lot of things working at the same time, or at least it felt that way at the time. I think Joe's the only one that was here at the time that remembers that.
I remember from the outside it.
Yeah, we lost a lot of things at the same time, and if somebody wasn't gonna make some things happen really, really fast, there was going to be some.
No, it looked like we were about to lose a lot of things at the same time because Google was changing how they were doing their Drive accounts, and so it looked like we were going to lose all of our storage, but then they did allow the grandfathered stuff to go in. And then we still decided that it would be better to not be on Google services.
Yeah, because we was going by the original information, and we had, and then when they backtracked, we were like, do we really want to rely on these people?
Exactly.
When they tend to go back and forth. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen anything like this, where Google can just they can turn their ship on a dime and then turn it again the very next day. You know, it just seemed like shifting sand to build your castle upon. So we stuck with the plan that we put in place, you know, and I did a lot of learning how to set up a lot of things. And I think, you know, we've had our problems with Collabora and that, the LibreOffice and all that with our show notes. But I think it's not been perfect, but it's been reliable. It's been reliable to be shit, but being shit and working is still better than something that doesn't work or something that could potentially be taking away from you, you know. And our website is firmly in our own hands right now. So,
yeah. And the format stuff, I mean, I feel like we're getting closer to what works for everybody. And I do hope that if we can be more determinate about things, that we can get Moss to come back, because I do miss him being on the show. So,
well, his voice is on the outro of every episode. You know, I'm just old enough to appreciate keeping people around that have been a part of it for a very long time.
And I think he has good opinions. I mean, I miss not having him. He sells himself short and thinks he can't
really
riff. You know what I mean? But he's actually really good at it. I know it makes him nervous, but I guess like maybe, yeah, I don't know.
He surprises me with his opinion of himself, that he thinks he's not technical.
Yeah, right.
It's almost
compared to like the usual normal human being, like.
You don't know a lot of normal people, do you, Moss?
Yeah. I think that's true.
You know, so
he hangs out with hardcore nerds that, you know,
us
do a lot more, and it's like, yeah, you're pretty technical. You're just, you know, not us.
He does my very favorite Linux news podcast is Full Circle Weekly News.
I like that one too.
It is my favorite. I'm sorry, but it is a news dump, and that is my favorite kind of news, where just give it to me in fast form, and if I want to dig deep on it, then that's on me. You know, just give it to me and say it clearly and plainly to where I'll understand it, and then give me the links to where I can follow up if I need to. You know, and that's that. I think that show needs to be proliferated more than it really is. But you know, there you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, all right. Well, we will see everybody in a week. In a week plus 1 day. Until then, I bid you guys farewell. See you then.
See you then. Bye.
See you then, guys.
Bye. Thank you, everybody in the live stream. We will see you next time.